Welcome to RTC News. Let's get started with predicting the Rotten Tomatoes scores for the 2025 movie lineup. In January, we have Wolfman, brought to us by Universal. It stars Julia Garner and Christopher Abbott, and it's directed by Leigh Whannell. Leigh's previous works include The Invisible Man and Insidious Chapter 3. And I think Universal is pretty much okay with being mediocre with these films, so I do think that the critics is going to give Wolfman 50%, and the audiences are actually going to be a lot more friendly toward it and give it 72%. Just because I think that audiences are more prone to want to see those old-fashioned monsters being brought to the big screen. Also in January, we have Flight Risk, brought to us by Lionsgate. This stars Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace, directed by Mel Gibson. If you are at all familiar with Mel Gibson in his directorial works, he's more known for the grand epics, Braveheart, Apocalypto, and yes, there is action in those movies, but they're set within a larger, more dramatic story. So it'll be interesting to see him hone into a very small story. In this movie, they're going to be in a plane. One of them is a whistleblower for the mob, and so they are flying him to a courthouse. But the twist is the pilot happens to be a hitman. So this is definitely an experimental film for Mel Gibson. So it's hard to tell which direction this is going to go. I know mainstream media and critics already don't love Mel Gibson. I think a lot more audiences do. So I do think that for Flight Risk, critics are going to give this a 50%, and the audiences are going to give it 65%. Kicking off February, we have Captain America: Brave New World, given to us by Disney and Marvel. And that stars Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, and Danny Ramirez, and it's directed by Julia Ona. This is the director of The Cloverfield Paradox. I have not seen that one, although I do love the first Cloverfield movies, but I did not hear good things about The Cloverfield Paradox. But like any Marvel film, nobody is really concerned about who is directing this, unless it's the Russo brothers doing the final movies of the Avengers saga. In this film, Sam Wilson will be taking up the shield to continue the story of Captain America, so it'll be interesting to see where we go, and I think the title, Brave New World, is a little bit ironic because Disney has been anything but brave these last few years. Disney and Marvel have also lost a lot of favor with critics over the years, but I don't think they're going to tear them apart on this one. I think critics are going to give this movie a 65%, while the audiences, usually more optimistic than critics, are going to give it 75%. Warner Brothers is giving us two other films in February, one of them being Mickey 17, which stars Robert Pattinson of the Batman fame, Stephen Yeun and Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. The exciting thing about this one is that it's directed by Bong Joon-ho. You'll know him as the director of Parasite, the winner of 2020 Best Picture for the Academy Awards. Who keeps up with those anymore? But Mickey 17 is a story about a dangerous journey to colonize an ice planet. I think the premise has a lot of potential. It's based off of a book, so that's usually a good sign. Because of the clout around this movie and the hard-hitting names, I do think that critics are going to really like this one and give it a 96%, and the audiences are going to come in at a respectable 93%. This is another Warner Brothers movie, and they are going to be bringing us back to the traditional 2D animation with The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes story. It stars Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and Petunia Pig, directed by Pete Braungart. And Pete Braungart is very familiar with the beloved Looney Tunes, as he's directed a lot of Looney Tunes cartoons. Personally, I'm quite excited for this. Not as excited as I was for the ill-fated Coyote vs. Acme, may it rest in peace, but just the premise going back to traditional animation like Mufasa should have done. That is enough, I think, to draw a lot of people into the seats. Maybe this could be a sleeper hit, but it could come back and make residuals off of streaming. This obviously isn't going to be an art house production. It's essentially going to be a 90-minute Looney Tunes cartoon up on the big screen, and I think critics are really going to hate that. I predict they're going to give this movie a 32%, while audiences are going to be a lot more receptive, if for nothing else, just to see 2D animation coming back, and we're going to want to see a lot more of that, so I think audiences are going to give this film 89%. That's all I have for the movies coming out. Again, if I missed anything you wanted me to talk about or hit on, Please list that down below, share this movie with friends, tune in for the next video where I'll be combining the movies from March to May. You can do this video, you can do that video. This is like a whole playlist. It's just a video, but you can still watch it. It's a good video.